Hello friends, I am coming to you. It is 10:15 at night and I've decided to start a video project. It's a Tuesday, it's not a Tuesday night, it's a Monday night. Hi, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner. I don't know what I'm doing, except I've decided that I'm going to start my reread project of the Murderbot diaries tonight. Because I can, apparently. I'm going to be rereading All Systems Red. It shouldn't take me too long. I'm going to listen to the graphic audio. I am going to listen to the graphic audio on a relatively fast speed because if I don't, I will finish the book before the audiobook finishes, and I want to listen to the graphic audio. Now, the graphic audio is an adaptation of the book, so there are parts of the book, I know this from the past because I have immersive read this before, that isn't in the graphic audio but is in the book. It's not that much, it's like a paragraph here or there, and that's just the formatting of the graphic audio. But yes, I want to do this tonight, so we're going to do it. Part of the reason that I'm starting this is I do have the eARC of Platform Decay. I would like to read it and have this vlog ready for either just before release or around release of Platform Decay, which I think is next month. So I need to get a move on. My plan is to read each book and then to give you a little bit of a recap summary, etc. because I love this series so much. Like it's one of my favorite series that I started reading while being on BookTube. So I suppose this really counts for one of my 10 years on BookTube videos because I love this series. It's one of my all-time favorites. I finished All Systems Red. It is 10:52. So that's how quick you can read one of these books. And yes, I would have read it just as quickly if I was just reading with my eyeballs. If you're unfamiliar with the story of Murderbot at all, although it's been around for a while and it's got a TV show now, so it's pretty well known. You have Murderbot, which is a half organic, half machine being. They are designed to provide security, and then they are hired out to people on contract. And Murderbot, we find out, is on a survey team on an alien planet with Preservation Ox, who is a team of people from a free planet, and they are on this planet to do a survey to see if they want to pay for additional mining rights or research rights on this planet. In the first chapter, one of their team members is attacked by some of the larger fauna on the planet. Murderbot saves them, and then things quickly become weird because they realize maps have been changed. They realize they're missing information that they should have, and they have to work with Murderbot in order to survive on the planet. And they quickly find out that there is a unknown entity on the planet that has killed another group of survey research people on the other side of the planet and are coming after them now. The whole charm of Murderbot is that Murderbot should have a governor module, which basically means it does whatever the clients tell it to do. However, prior to the start of this book, Murderbot has hacked their own governor module after their governor module failed and they killed a bunch of people, their clients. And so they didn't want that to happen again, so they managed to hack the governor module. They really don't want to be around humans. They really don't want to form emotional attachments to humans, and they just basically want to spend the entire day watching the entertainment feeds, which relatable. It's really fun. It's got a great sense of humor. It's got a really great pace. I think that this is a really great introduction to science fiction, plus it's super short. I love this, and it's really interesting watching this because this book is basically season 1 of the TV show, which is on Apple TV. I know it's Apple TV because it's on the front cover of the book. There's a sticker there. Did I pay any attention to that whatsoever? Absolutely not. The show is fantastic. It is really, really good, but there are significant differences in here, and I keep forgetting that there's 2 additional survey characters that do not feature in the TV show, and thus a lot of the relationships between the characters on the survey team are slightly different. And also Garathan, granted, Garathan redeemed himself in the TV show, but he's much more likable in the book, at least initially. We totally understand why he is the way that he is in the TV show, but he's much more likable in this book. And it's just so funny hearing the voice actors for these characters because they are very different to the TV show. There's a slightly different tone. There is a much lighter tone, I think, in this book, whereas Alexander Skarsgård, while he has the dry humor of Murderbot down in the TV show, he plays it far more straight than I think Murderbot does in here. It's a great adaptation. I have absolutely no issues with the adaptation. I've even started rewatching it. I'm almost halfway through my rewatch of it. It's just interesting having the 2 because I think they are very good independent media pieces if you read or watch them separately, and I would happily do either. So yes, I'm looking forward to jumping into Artificial Condition, which is book 2 sometime in the near future. So stay tuned, I will have an update when I get there. Hello friends. Today is the perfect example of if you're just going to pick up a book and DNF it, you might as well reread something. I reread Artificial Condition tonight because I DNF'd 2 books before it clicked that I just needed to reread something. So this is the second book in the Murderbot Diaries. I did listen to the graphic audio while I was reading it. I've actually physically annotated this one, I completely forgot. Anyway, equally delightful, Murderbot has left Mensa at Freeport Commerce and has basically sequestered themselves away on a transport ship only to discover that there is a very, very powerful artificial intelligent bot basically driving this entire ship, which is supposed to be a research vessel, but it's an armed research vessel. So what is going on with ART, the arsehole research transport? Who knows? I mean, of course I know, but you know, we're not up to that yet. So Murderbot is trying to figure out what happened in its past, why it basically went rogue and killed a bunch of its clients before the beginning of the first book, and uses both ART and a group of clients that it picks up in order to be able to investigate and visit the site of the mining expedition that it was part of, to figure out, you know, did it actually just hack its own governor module and kill all of its clients, or was there something else at play? So it's a really fun next installment in the series and kind of expands the world quite a bit in terms of looking at conspiracy and corporate greed and things like that. Very cool. Great. I mean, the whole series is great. So I think I'm actually just going to continue to reread these every other day or so at the moment, because it's about all my brain can handle. Hi everyone, I'm back to talk about the next book in the Murderbot Diaries series, and if you want some context for when I am filming this, it's the day that the USA men's hockey team stuff has imploded, and that has basically consumed my feed for the entire evening, and I needed to move away from that. That's my phone telling me to go to bed. I had to move away from that content and just go to something that I love, because I have this policy of not engaging with, in terms of replying and whatever. I will share in my stories and things like that, important things, but I don't engage. Mostly because I know what people are like on the internet. So I needed to do something to distract me, and that was Rogue Protocol, and I am hoping that by the time this video goes out, I don't even know what I'm hoping at this point. Hoping to not be sorely disappointed in people who have the ability and the opportunity to do the right thing, like Murderbot. There's my segue. Rogue Protocol is the third book. In this book, Murderbot has decided, or has found out, that Dr. Mensa and the crew from Preservation have uncovered a little bit of extra information and have suspicions about this mining outpost that Grey Chris was involved in, Grey Chris being the overarching bad guys. They figure out a way to end up on this station, and they have to hide on different transports to get there, and then when they get there they have to lie to a bot, which is basically just a humanoid robot, but not human looking, just humanoid shape. Oh God, now my camera's flashing at me. I don't want to change the camera. The battery has changed. So, and the camera angle has also changed because I had to take the camera off the stand. So Murderbot has to communicate with Mickey, who is the bot, and this bot is very childlike and is friends with the humans that it works with. The humans call it their associate. Like, it is part of their crew. They love Mickey, and that kind of irritates Murderbot, and also then really challenges Murderbot's perception of how they are treated. And it's really, really interesting as the book goes on when Murderbot sees how Mickey is treated and how the humans react to it in different situations versus how Murderbot has been treated in the past. Like, it's fascinating. It has the same dry humor, but this one feels a lot more intense. One, because it takes place in a very short period of time in a very confined space. Mickey's humans have had some human security experts come and join them, and they may or may not have ulterior motives, and Murderbot has to reveal itself in order to save the lives of one of the humans. You have combat drones, which are big scary things that are really hard to kill. You have a station that is obviously hiding secrets, but is also under threat of being destroyed, even though other people are trying to come and reclaim it. And also Murderbot really working through its own path of leaving Mensa at the end of the first book and really doing a lot of the legwork to get her the information she needs in order to continue to pursue Grey Chris, and realizing that they can't just send this information to her. It's time to go back and actually have a face-to-face conversation with her. I loved it. This is what my brain needed tonight. Hello, lovely friends. I have read the 4th book in the Murderbot Diary series, Exit Strategy. The funny thing about this, I didn't even notice this till I finished reading it. It says the 4th and final part in the Murderbot Diary series, which we know is untrue. So this is a very early copy of the book when it first released, because it clearly still says 4th and final. There's a full-length novel that comes next, and then more novellas. I was super keen to get into this book. I actually finished it last night and I was listening to the graphic audio and I just loved it so much, because this is where Murderbot meets back up with Dr. Mensah and some of the preservation crew. So at the end of book 3, Murderbot had retrieved some incriminating evidence against Grey Chris and is determined to return it personally to Dr. Mensah. Why they feel compelled to do that, even they're not sure. But then they discover that Dr. Mensah has disappeared after, you know, negotiations with Grey Chris, and it turns out that she may or may not have been taken. And so Murderbot is very unhappy about this and sets off to figure out what's going on and find Dr. Mensah, and ends up meeting up with some of the preservation crew who are there trying to pay for her return, because they're basically being ransomed. And Murderbot finds themselves in many a precarious situation. It is fast-paced. It is so great to see all of our original characters back together again, and Murderbot trying to figure out how to be around these people that it clearly does care about. But caring about humans, what is that? It is such a delightful book, and ends up with Murderbot trying to figure out, you know, what is going to come next. So I'm really keen to dive back into the novel because I have not come back to that one at all. Stay tuned, that's next. Hi everyone, I am here to talk about Network Effect. I apologize, I'm getting a lot of glare just because of the lighting and the situation, and this is going to be fun to manage in the next couple of months. Anyway, so Network Effect is the 5th book in the Murderbot Diary series. I did read it. I actually read it a couple of days ago. I just have not had time to sit down and share my thoughts. And now my camera's dying. All right, so the angle might be slightly off, the colors will be off, and I will be getting glare, but we are back. So 5th book in the Murderbot Diary series. I did listen to the audiobook for this. I did start confession time. I did start with the graphic audio. I had to switch to the regular audio because I was not feeling 100%. It turns out later in that day I got extraordinarily nauseous and pre-migrainey. So I needed very much to listen to something that didn't have too much background stuff going on, and the graphic audio was just making it very difficult for me to read, which is unfortunate because I really love the graphic audios for this series. That said, Kevin Free, who does the regular audiobook, is amazing in the audiobooks for the series as well. So I have both. At the end of the previous book, Murderbot had been reunited with Dr. Mensah on preservation. In this book, they've been on preservation, and they're kind of trying to find an existence in a society that is very different from everything that they've known. At the start of this book, they end up on a mission to support a crew from preservation, and they are attacked, and an old friend resurfaces who needs Murderbot's help. Art is back. We love art, and we get to know more about art, like truly understand what art is and what art does, because in the previous book, in book 2 where we met Art, Murderbot was trying to figure that out because there were just some little things that didn't add up in terms of why does art have weapons when it's a research transport? And being the only full-length novel in the series, I do find that this one has some pacing issues in terms of sometimes it just feels like we spend a little bit too much time in one space, possibly because I'm just used to the format of the novellas. And I do know that the first time I read this, like, I didn't enjoy this as much as I enjoyed the novella-length stories, and the same thing happened this time. Not because I don't love being back with the characters and the story and I don't love what's happening. I just feel like Murderbot works really well as a novella length story in like really short bite-sized pieces, because there's not a lot of extra stuff that's happening. You just get into the story. That said, there is nothing wrong with Network Effect. It is an excellent science fiction story that sees Murderbot and Mensah's daughter stuck on a ship with people who are trying to kill them. They don't know whether they're people or aliens, or if they've been affected by alien remnants, which is a big prevalent thing through the series. Murderbot is trying to figure out why Art came back. Is Art in league with these people that are trying to hurt them, or because Art isn't communicating because something has happened to Art? And through the course of the book, all of that is unraveled, and it does have a lot to do with planets that have been colonized but also have been lost from records, and so corporations are trying to come in and, you know, take that back. Like, the entire Murderbot series is around people with power and money trying to do what people with power and money try to do, which is take over things and own them, with little regard for the people who are actually affected, especially since they left these people here to fend for themselves. They didn't help them. It's the effects of that and the effects that exploring places that do have alien remnants that we don't know what they actually do. Like, what are the implications of that for people? It was really cool. The last part of this is really, really interesting in terms of Murderbot doing what it needs to do to survive. And I really, really like that. And now I'm very, very keen to get into the next couple of books, because it's been a while since I've been this far into the series. I usually get like 2 or 3 books into my reread and then I get distracted by something else. So now I'm just going to be continuing on and I'm looking forward to it. Last night I read Fugitive Telemetry, which is the book that comes after the novella. And this one I love because, again, we're on preservation, except this time Murderbot is basically recruited to help the security on preservation when someone turns up murdered. And it's very unlike preservation to have someone turn up dead with no reason as to why. And as it turns out, there is a bit of a people smuggling operation going on, but kind of the reverse of people are trying to smuggle people off a planet where people are actively being oppressed. A group of those people have also gone missing, and it is up to Murderbot to work very reluctantly with preservation's security to figure out what's going on. They're also deeply reluctant to work with Murderbot as well. It's a thing. And compared to the pacing of the novel, this one moved really quickly because it is very much its own contained thing, and I love that. And tonight I am planning on starting System Collapse in like the next 2 minutes, so you may get another update tonight, and then it's on to Platform Decay and I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So I feel like I need to point out that I'm currently reading in publication order, which I had totally forgotten that the order of books 5, 6 and 7, you can read them in chronological order in terms of storyline chronology, which makes sense because this book, it took me a second to go, oh, okay, hang on, this takes place after book 5. So ideally you would read book 4, then you would read Fugitive Telemetry, then you would read Network Effect, then you would read System Collapse if you are wanting pure chronological storytelling order. You can also read it in publication order. It doesn't make any difference. You just have to take a second to readjust where you are in the timeline. All right, so I finished System Collapse by Martha Wells, and this is very much like the core of a Murderbot story, in that, as I said before, this takes place directly after Network Effect, which takes place before Fugitive Telemetry. So in book 5, the full-length novel, Murderbot was working alongside Bence's daughter, and basically they came across a planet where the humans that were living there were affected by an alien virus. And there are corporation entities that are trying to reclaim the planet and rehome the colonists, i.e. make them slave labor. Art, who is the research transport that we met in book 2, we learned more about Art, which is basically that Art is a ship on behalf of a university, but the actual university and the group exist in order to try and free people around the galaxy. So in that book, there was still a lot of fallout from everything that happened, and Murderbot in particular had a lot of emotional fallout because of things that happened there. And at one point, Murderbot had the original Murderbot, but also had their personality in 2 other kind of bot bodies. One which died and one which was convinced to work alongside the research crew and Mensa. So that's called 3. I'm not explaining this very well. In this particular book, they are still on planet. They are trying to put into place supports for the colonists to make sure that they are safe, they have options, and the corporate group that is there, nicknamed BE, are trying to convince them to leave, right, so that the BE gets the rights to the planet. And at the very start of this book, Murderbot's group discover that there is a separatist colonist group in another part of the planet that the main colonist group haven't had contact with. And so they kind of head out there to try and find them and to try and include them in these negotiations, because it could kind of make everything really difficult. And when they get there, they find out that BE's already there first, and so it is between these 2 groups trying to negotiate with the separatist colonists. And the separatist colonists, who we don't actually spend very much time with at all, we kind of get snippets of their conversation, are having to work out who is telling the truth or not. Lots of fight sequences, lots of Murderbot having basically an existential crisis. Essentially, Murderbot is becoming slightly more human in terms of the way that they're responding to situations, and are actually quite dealing with a lot of trauma from everything that they've experienced in terms of their neural tissue processing that information. And it hates it so much. But I think the really fun thing is that Murderbot is now finding ways, when confronted with other sec units that are actively trying to kill it, it has more effective ways of being able to switch off the governor module and give them the information to make an informed choice. There is the risk that they will go rogue. Murderbot talks about that all the time, but it has enough data now to give them, and more often than not, the sec units make a good choice. For example, the one in here, which basically does what Murderbot did in book 1, which is offer to stay behind to fool and to infiltrate and fool its own corporate group that it was originally working for. We don't get much about that because it's towards the end of the book, but I just like that as a parallel to Murderbot's story. So yes, very excited. I should probably do some reading to find out where Platform Decay fits into this timeline, because not reading it properly. I'll be back when I have another update. Hi everyone, I am here to wrap up this Murderbot reading vlog. I did read Platform Decay. I really enjoyed it. I have said in a couple of wrap-ups, because I've been filming a lot this morning, is that this book felt like a real return to all the things that I love about a Murderbot book. So in this case, Murderbot is out rescuing one of Mensa's marital partners who has been kidnapped on another planet by Leonide, one of the villains from the previous books. And it's one of the marital partners, it's one of the children, and also one of the preservation elders. And Leonide has basically said that they will help Murderbot and the group escape this planet if Murderbot will take some of their family off planet, because basically in the previous book, Leonide betrayed their organization, Barrish Estranza. I always mix up the names of the corporations, but they betrayed their group and helped Murderbot escape. And so they've kind of got a bit of a target on their back. And so reluctantly they agree, but as they're about to escape, they're attacked. Leonide is killed, and Murderbot and the rest of the group have to escape. And they also have to find family members and help them get off planet. And when they find the family members, it's only 2 children who are left alive. That also adds an interesting dynamic, because Murderbot is not overly fond of children, but these kids really end up depending on Murderbot, and one of them is rather attached to Murderbot at one point, I think, is clinging to Murderbot like a koala. And Murderbot just has to deal with it. I do love the way that Martha Wells has expanded Murderbot's character so much over the books, to the point now in this book, they're aware that they have mental health. Like there is a component of them, they may mostly be machine, but their neural tissue functions like a human, and that they can experience things like anxiety. And after everything that they've been through and everything that they've experienced, they are experiencing those kinds of things, and they voluntarily, they can't even believe it themselves, downloaded a mental health programming thing that just kind of is there to make them aware of what they're feeling in the moment. And it is hilarious in this book when it just pops up with little, warning messages, you are feeling this, and Murderbot is like, yeah, no shit. So like those little moments were kind of laugh out funny, even though they were tense moments or moments of, extreme stress for the character. They added the levity to it to help break up those moments. The pacing of this one was fantastic. I really loved it. I loved the world that we were on, and how like different sections of it were controlled by different groups and had different visual aesthetics to the entire world. It was great. And, we love a good chase story. They're being chased through this planet as they're trying to escape, and they're trying to find their allies on the planet so they can get off the planet. And I had a great time. And I have to say that rereading the entire Murderbot Diaries series this year was a great choice. I know I haven't gone back and read all of the short stories. I will do that, but I just feel like for now, we're just going to wrap up the vlog with the main stories. I'm hopefully going to get a copy of the graphic audio for Platform Decay when it comes out. I'll probably do a reread then. And yeah, I loved it. I think Murderbot is such a solid series, and not every book in the series is a favorite, but there are these little moments where we just return. We return to the same kind of style that made the initial part of the series so iconic. And I think that is amazing, because you don't always need to have a perfect book for every book in a series. As long as you recognize the characters and the through line story continues, like That's the most important thing. So for those of you who stuck through this entire vlog, thanks for sticking with me. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. And if you haven't read the Murderbot Diaries series, hopefully you pick it up. I think it's a really great entry to sci-fi for people. And the TV series is great if you read the first book and you want to watch the show. There are differences, but the TV show is great as well. In the comments, I'd love to know, have you read Murderbot Diaries? Are you planning on picking up Platform Decay? Feel free to let me know. Otherwise, feel free to leave a planet emoji to let me know that you're here. I hope that wherever you're on the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.